Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Crooksy. I'm the lead pastor here, and today is Vision Sunday. Today is an opportunity for us to see where God has been guiding this church as we move into this next season. If you're a guest with us today, this is a really fun one to get like a good, proper nosy at what Rehope Southside is all about. And if you want to know what this whole Jesus thing is and what it looks like here, you picked a good week to come. Well done, you. We're going to cut to the chase. Today, we're going to be talking about how this next season is going to be one where we want to get the blood pumping. But before we get there, let me bless you real quick. I bless you in the name of Jesus to know Jesus even more wonderfully today. May God bless you and keep you. May God look graciously on you. May God show you his favor and give you his peace. In the name of Jesus, may it be. Good times. So, a prophetic word that our senior pastor, Brian, spoke over this location of Rehope Southside a while ago is that Rehope Southside is an elephant. And over our almost 7 years of this location, we've seen this location grow bigger and stronger, and we've seen like a good, positive sturdiness come. And we visited and revisited the whole community and caring, nurturing aspect of how elephant herds work. And over the last 7 years, we have seen this location of this church become more and more elephant-y. Seasons come and seasons go, and we've got to prioritize different parts of our elephant-y-ness. It seems that sometimes those seasons come in a cycle. Like first, it'll be time to set the foundations. And then next we build on the foundations. And only then do we get to have a season where we can enjoy what God has done and be thankful. And in my professional opinion, we have been in stage 3 for a little while. So good, like we set the foundations. We've seen a lot of building, a lot of growth here, and it's been really fun for like a hot minute, and we've been enjoying it, and that's great. And from there, the cycle repeats, except it doesn't quite repeat. The new cycle comes in response to the previous cycle, do you know? So we're not just going back to the start, but we're going to like setting the foundations. Maybe we need to make some repairs to the foundations. Maybe we need to build some more foundations somewhere else so we can build out as well as up or whatever it is. I'm supposed to be trying to do like an elephant metaphor, but now I think I'm building. Apologies for the mixed metaphors. But we have been doing this cycle for 7 years, and we have seen seasons of setting the foundations. We've seen seasons of building and growth. We've seen seasons where every week seems so exciting. And we've seen this church grow into a bigger, stronger, sturdier, more caring and nurturing elephant. Oh, I'm back to elephants. Okay, well maybe we're just thinking about this then. I've got an elephant, and yeah, there we go. Got it, good old ChatGPT. Do you think that's more helpful, less helpful? Just move on, bro. Just move on, bro. Rehope Southside is about to go into another season of foundation setting. We're going to strengthen up, and usually that feels like a little bit of a stretch season where you're like going for like trying to do all the things that you have been doing, but preparing for what's next at the same time, and it can kind of feel kind of stretching. So does that sound fun to you? How are we going to respond to this? Do we think, oh man, here we go again? I'd understand if there was a little bit of that. Like for me, approaching fasting week, and I knew that some foundation setting was on the horizon, and there was a part of me that thought, these things that we need to work on, this feels like 2 years ago. Like, have we gone backwards? Have we gone backwards? No, we haven't gone backwards. It might feel a little bit like that because of some of the things that we need to repair or some of the things that we need to strengthen, but we haven't gone backwards. That was the wrong question that I was asking myself. A way better question is, how can we keep going forwards? Something that Brian says pretty often is that staying still is the new going backwards. And if we were to stay still and hang out in the enjoyment stage for too long, we would see the excitement wear off. we would see our enjoyment of all this stuff kind of just like wane, and we would start to stagnate. And I don't know about you, but I'm like, no, thank you. So how can we keep moving forward? We're going to look at Romans 5 real quick. And in Romans 5, there's a bit where Paul is contrasting Adam and Jesus. And Paul chats about Adam, and he's saying that because this one dude disobeyed God, then everyone experiences the negative consequences of sin. Like everybody who comes after him experiences that. But when contrasting Jesus, he tells us that because of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, everyone who has faith in Jesus will receive his gifts of grace and be set free from those consequences. And verse 17, which is on the screen, is the biggie here. It says, for the sin of this one man, Adam, caused death to rule over many. But even greater is God's wonderful grace and his gift of righteousness. For all who receive it will live in triumph over sin and death through this one man, Jesus Christ. Live in triumph. Hey, do you know what? I kind of like the sound of that. That sounds good. God brought me to this verse through a book that Brian asked a few of us to read called Spiritual Leadership by this dude called J. Oswald Sanders. And in chapter 14 of his book, Sanders unpacks a section of Romans, but he has a really interesting take on it. He references Romans 5:17 in the Phillips translation, which says, for if one man's offense meant that people should be slaves to death all their lives. That's an interesting juxtaposition there, isn't it? It is a far greater thing that through another man, Jesus Christ, people, by their acceptance of his more than sufficient grace and righteousness, should live all their lives as kings. Live in triumph. Okay, that sounds good, to be fair. Live like kings? I mean, that sounds good. That sounds great as well. It kind of hits different, though, doesn't it? Feels different. And Sanders goes on to, at length, challenge his readers to live in a way that shows that we expect to receive the royal privileges that our inclusion in God's family brings. His deal is pretty much that God is ready to give abundantly, but the problem is that sometimes our faith levels cause us to not expect to receive, or not to expect to receive much. The limit isn't on God's generosity. The limit isn't on his love. The limit isn't on his power. The limit is placed on us by us when we're not ready or willing to receive. And those self-imposed limits can keep us standing still. So how can we keep going forward? We can dream big. Moving into this next season, I feel like God is directing us to increase our expectations of him. And reading Sanders' chat got this idea sealing in my head and my heart. But the things that God drew my attention to when we were reading through Mark for Bible read-through really drove it home. Right, I can't stop thinking about Mark chapter 6, verses 54 to 56. It says, after they had crossed the lake, this is Jesus and his disciples, they landed at Gennesaret, and they brought the boat to shore and climbed out. The people recognized Jesus at once, and they ran throughout the whole area, carrying sick people and mats to wherever they heard he was. Wherever he went, in villages, cities, or the countryside, they brought the sick out to the marketplaces, and they begged him to let the sick touch at least the fringe of his robe, and all who touched him were healed. And I'm just in awe of their dedication. I'm in awe of their expectations. I'm in awe of their hunger for Jesus. They ran to him, hurrying from all across this region, following wherever he went, just to touch the edge of his clothes, knowing that that would be enough. And it was. My dudes, if we really knew the power that is among us, wouldn't our expectations of God and what he might do right in front of our faces be so much higher? And I've been thinking about this. Imagine my delight then. When last Sunday I was reading the things that our dudes heard from God during our pre-service prayer meeting, and what an encouragement it was to me to see that God is directing other people in our church in the same way. When I read what Gaynor Harvey had heard from God, I was just like, yes, let's go. And actually, you've already read it. It was only 2 words. She wrote, dream big. Let's raise our expectations of what God is able and willing to do, both for this church and for us as the individuals that comprise this church. What's that one thing that you've been asking God to do for you and waiting for patiently, or waiting for with urgency? Double down on your prayers. What's that one thing that maybe you've been hesitating to ask God to do for you? Just get on it. Just ask. Have high expectations. And when you come at the end of your prayers, as I'm sure you do, to declare why God should answer those prayers, stick your neck out. Stick your neck out and say, it's because of you that I live in triumph over sin and death and all the consequences of sin. So display your triumph by answering these prayers. Choose the high faith. Dream big, my dudes. Raise your faith. Raise your expectations. You're not asking too much of God. His power is mind-blowing. Ask him to blow your mind. Our wee minds, though, bless us. Sometimes we just can't wrap our little heads around how powerful God is. And we end up making things that are kind of normal seem mind-blowing, and things that are mind-blowing seem kind of normal. But something else I read in Mark just like put this into perspective for me. You may have heard this before. It's a story Jesus told about a farmer sowing some seed. It says, listen, a farmer went out to plant some seed. And as he scattered it across his field, some of the seed fell on a footpath and the birds came and ate it. Other seed fell on shallow soil with underlying rock. And the seed sprouted up quickly because the soil was shallow, but the plant soon wilted under the hot sun. And since it didn't have any deep roots, it died. Other seed fell among thorns that grew up and choked the tender plants, so they produced no grain. Yet still, other seed fell on fertile soil, and they sprouted, grew, and produced a crop that was 30, 60, even 100 times as much as had been planted. Maybe I'm greedy, maybe I'm delusional, but when I read this story, I want to think that I'm going to be one of the times 100 dudes. And is that such a bad thing? Gaynor told me to dream big. Don't blame me. But I would love to be a times 100 dude. But let's just say that Rehope Southside ended up being, a times 30 dude. If our Alpha course went times 30, there were 31 people at Alpha on Tuesday night, our biggest one ever. 31 times 30 is 930 people. It would change the game. There's usually around 200 of us here on a Sunday. 200 times 30 is 6,000 people. This place would be unrecognizable. Last week, 5 people joined a Bible read-through group and committed to reading the Bible cover to cover in a year. 5 people in 1 week times 30 is 150 people in 1 week. It would be bonkers. And 1 dude is getting baptized today. 1 times 30 is 30. And if 30 people got baptized here in 1 week, I would be dancing down the middle of Kilmarnock Road, swinging my shirt around my head. It'd be amazing. Yet that one seems like it might be the most realistic one, right? Times 30 would change the game. And that is the lower level of what Jesus says is available to us when we receive from him. If only we could get to grips with the power that is among us. What am I saying? What am I saying? If only. Growing more like God and aligning our faith and expectations with the power of God, as we know him more and love him more and act for him more, as we grow to be more like God, of course we're going to get a way better, way clearer, way more realistic and accurate view of the power of God. It would change the game. Here's how we can do that: by resetting our foundations. We want to be ready for God to do something really big up in here. So we need to get the right things, not the right things right, we need to get the right things great. And Rehope's membership commitments are a great way to do all the significant and powerful discipleship things. There are 6 of them. Number 1 is I've dedicated my life to Jesus and I commit to continue to grow in my love for God with all my heart, soul, and strength. Being a disciple includes growing in love for God and loving God with all that we have got. Number 2, I commit to loving the people of Rehope, our leadership, and those Jesus brings through our doors. Disciples love God, they receive his love, and then they share it with other people. Doing number 1 is going to help you to do number 2. Number 3 is I commit to regularly attending and serving at my local Rehope location. This one and the next 2 are all about spending quality time with God and with God's people. Like, this is just a massive part of discipleship. And this commitment includes active participation. Our actions towards God and our actions towards God's people really matter. It's a big deal. Number 4, I commit to being a faithful part of a Bible read-through group. Bible read-through changed my life. Brian talked all about it last week. You can catch that on a podcast. But saturate yourself in God's power through his word and grow to be more like him with the support of the people in your group. Number 5, I commit to prioritizing praying together with the people of my church. Let me just recommend pre-service prayer. It's a great place to go if you're a prayer-y type dude. It's a great place to go if you need someone to be alongside you, to coach you a bit and help you to learn to pray. So good. And praying and seeing God answer is a faith booster for sure. Meeting with God as he speaks to you is a faith booster for sure. And the last one is I commit to financially supporting my local Rehope location by giving my first and best to the church as an offering. And giving to God's work through his church is a significant act of worship, obedience, and discipleship. Those are 6 simple but not necessarily easy things that we can do. And at Rehope, we aim to provide a pathway to growth that is easy to follow. And the things here, like reading the Bible cover to cover in a year, that's not nothing. But they are made easier when we do that together. All these commitments have a personal responsibility piece, but they all have a for the greater collective good piece. And they're all things that we can do, which makes sense. Do you know? It makes sense. What we do counts. And next week, Brian is going to start a series on the book of James, who is adamant that faith and actions can't be separated. I'm not trying to steal Brian's thunder, so I'm going to talk about Mark instead. So after Jesus tells the story of the farmer who's sown the seed, he explains the parable to his disciples, and then he elaborates on its message. Here's what he says. Then Jesus said to them, Would anyone light a lamp and then put it under a basket or under a bed? Of course not. A lamp is placed on a stand where its light will shine. For everything that is hidden will eventually be brought into the open, and every secret will be brought into light. Anyone with ears should listen and understand. And then he added, pay close attention to what you hear. The closer you listen, the more understanding will be given, and you will receive even more. To those who listen to my teaching, more understanding will be given. But for those who aren't listening, even what little understanding they have will be taken away from them. Jesus' first remark makes it clear that we are to do something with what we hear. No point in lighting a lamp and then not doing anything with it. So much point in lighting a lamp and then putting it somewhere so it can shine its light, cast its light over everything around it. What we do with what we have received matters. And his second remark, especially from the Christian Standard Bible, makes this point even clearer. Verse 24 says, and he said, pay attention to what you hear. By the measure you use it, it will be measured to you, and more will be added to you. So how are we going to keep moving forward? We're going to use what we receive from God by getting the right things great. Becoming a member of Rehope Church is not a requirement, and I hope I'm not coming across as arrogant by saying these membership commitments are the right things. I didn't decide they are the right things. Our elders didn't decide that they are the right things. Our elders didn't decide that meeting with God and his people, reading the Bible, praying, serving God, and giving towards his work are the right things. Those things were decided as the right things for us. And becoming a member of Rehope Church is not a requirement. Yet these things are all good things. The right things according to the Bible that help humans grow to be more like Jesus. And if you're already doing these things and you're not a member here, if you're already doing them, then why not join us? Or maybe there are one or two things that you're not ready for or not able to commit to right now for whatever reason, if you feel like you can't commit to membership. My hope for you then would be just hit all the other ones as hard as you can hit them, and it's still going to be great. These are all good things that will build us up as individuals, and as we are built up as individuals, we will be helping each other build ourselves up as individuals for the collective good of the church. And it's good. I'm convinced that God has got big things coming up in our future, and therefore we want to be ready as individuals and as a collective. In Sanders' chapter of the book that I was reading, the chapter about dreaming big, Gainer's words, not his, but he talks about how some believers demonstrate this big-time faith, and they receive so much from God, but others less so. And he goes on to discuss why we as a species have such a hard time receiving in fullness from God. And I have to say, when I read the chapter and it's all talking about royal privileges, I was kind of being like, it felt weird. And as I was reading it, my mind changed. But I have to say, I started off feeling weird. How come we find it so hard to accept that God is king and he gives good things to his children? Sanders asks this rhetorical question. He says it may be asked, since God's resources are available to all in Christ, why is there so little evidence of their possessions in the lives of Christians as a whole? Can the head, God, be rich and the body, us, poor? And I wanted to say, no, of course not. And the way he's written the chapter would make you want to think no, of course not. God is so generous. God is so powerful. Of course he's going to give. The way he wrote it makes you want to say no. But he answers the question himself. He says, can the head be rich and the body poor? Yes. When the blood flow is restricted, faith is the blood of the spiritual life. And when faith is not functioning, spiritual penury is the result. Rita's all set, but for the non-English lit graduates up in here, like myself, who might be thinking, penury means extreme poverty. I had to Google it, but now also Rita of course knew. She knows everything. This leaves things seeming pretty clear to me, my dudes. This is the season for us to get the blood pumping. If faith is the blood of the spiritual life, I want our blood, I want my blood, I want your blood, I want our blood to be pumping. And I'm really excited. And over the last little while, I've moved from a little bit of discouragement and thinking, have we gone backwards, to excitement, anticipation, felt responsibility for sure, but still, dream big. And we're going to get to the cherry on the top in a minute. But God started this work in me through Mark's gospel. Did the big work through Mark's gospel. He started the work through chapter 14 of Spiritual Leadership by J. Oswald Sanders. Or did it start? The eagle-eyed among you will have already spotted that when it was on the screen that I didn't quote from Spiritual Leadership. Of course you're paying attention. You caught me. instead of reading chapters 13, 14, 15, and 16 for a little book club from Spiritual Leadership, because this is my book, and it's a triple edition with 3 books in it, I accidentally read chapters 13, 14, 15, and 16 from Spiritual Maturity, the second book. Oops. And I show up to the book club, and Brian's like, oh, I'm so excited to talk about this. And I'm like, I didn't read anything about that. Oops. / I am so glad that I did. Because I believe this divinely appointed mistake has brought me so much clarity, so much excitement, and so much motivation for the next season. And I hope you feel that too. Let's dream big. Let's get the right things great so we can get the blood pumping. Because I am convinced that God is going to do something great in this church really soon. And why am I convinced? Well, here it comes. Last week, at pre-service prayer, Caleb Smith received a picture from God, and it was a cherry on top. In Caleb's picture, God had a video game controller, and that represented his control. And for everyone who placed their trust in God, another character was spawned on the screen. And after a while, so many people popped up. And as I was praying through this word and this picture this week, God highlighted to me that there's 2 stages. First, there's some people who are popping up, but then, second stage, so many. It's always fun to lead a church when you don't say, my dudes, let's do more. Let's go a little bit harder. And people are like, pfft. When Gaynor is saying we should dream big, and I think, yes, my dude. When Hannah is sharing about God's abundance, I think, yes, my dude. So much encouragement, so much excitement, yet imagine my delight when my best boy, who I've known since he was 0 years old and gave his life to Jesus 397 weeks ago, when he was part of the kids' ministry that you led, is up in here prophesying over his church. Let's go. I love that. How exciting is it that God is speaking to the young people of this church and speaking their language? Here's a picture about a video game. We appreciate when God speaks in ways that we can get. Love that. Caleb was 12 years and 7 days old when he prophesied this over our church. 12 years old, and he was right. And I know that he was right because his picture is already happening. I would love to, but I'm not going to, but I would love to ask if you're in your 20s and you're reconnecting with your faith and you're new to Rehope Southside in the last 6 months, for you to stand up. I'm not going to make you do it. But we see you, and we're delighted you're here, and there are a bunch of you. And this week when I was praying through this word, God spoke to me like, this is already happening. 2 stages. The some, and then the so many. And the last, especially the last 6 weeks or so, 20-year-olds coming back to Jesus in droves up in here. So exciting. And if this is the sum, how many is the many? We want to be ready. We want to be ready, my dudes. I'm so excited. Caleb, you're a good lad. And God answers his prayers. Look at that. So good. You must be a righteous man. We appreciate you, Caleb. Friends, I have this Taylor Swift t-shirt, right? And my brother and sister-in-law got it for me when they went to see the Red tour in 2011 or whatever. And I love it. It has this really high contrast, high threshold version of the "We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together" art on the front, and big red letters, "We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together." And I love it. But I got it in 2011. Do you know what I mean? A lot of time has passed. And it has rips on both the seams of the shoulders because it just doesn't fit anymore. But I'm not going to throw it out because it reminds me of a time in my life. And I can see that shirt and I can look back at it and remember so fondly that season of my life. And I'm never getting rid of it But me and my body and that shirt are never, ever getting back together. Do you know what I'm saying? So I needed a new Taylor Swift t-shirt. And my buddies Wes and Jenny got me a new Taylor Swift t-shirt. And this one is size XL. Perfect. Perfect. Sometimes in my leadership, I can see from A to B. I can't see C. I have no idea that D even exists. I believe that God is calling us to dream big, not think A to B, not think move from a medium to a large, go XL. Wear the shirt, wear the big shirt. Something that you are not going to grow out of for a long time. Wear it, get it, wear it big. And to dream big, what's this church going to look like not at the end of the next season or the next or the next? What's this church going to look like in 5 years, 10 years? And dream big and get the right things great so that we can, here come all the mixed metaphors all in a one, so that we can be a big, strong, sturdy elephant, seemingly made out of stone, and wearing an extra large Taylor Swift t-shirt. ChatGPT wouldn't let me make it a Taylor Swift t-shirt. It broke its third-party rules. Friends, I've got a challenge for you today. I've got two, actually. One of them is consider becoming a member of Rehope Church. This is not a requirement, but it's a commitment to hitting those discipleship-y, growing to be more like Jesus in a Rehope-y way, things really hard. It's an investment in your faith in action. And the fruit of that will be your growth to the benefit of this whole community and beyond. Don't consider it for too long, though, because we have a members meeting coming up tomorrow night. So hit up rehope.co.uk/membership and apply for membership so that we can get you the Zoom link sent out and so you don't miss out. Today would be best. But not a requirement, but today would be best. And become a member of Rehope Church. And the second one, if you're already a member, ask yourself, which membership commitment am I going to hit extra hard this season? Maybe that's going to be like your thing, that like you know you're a Bible dude. And you're like, I'm going to hit my read through even harder in this next season. I'm not going to miss a verse. Cool. Maybe that's something that you know, like this is the one thing that I need a little bit of extra work on. Maybe you're not in a serving team yet. And that's the thing that you need to do. Identify whatever it is you're going to hit really hard. And hit it really hard. And let's get the blood pumping. Friends, I'm going to pray for us. And then we're going to move into a little time of worship. And move towards the end of our service. But God, we bless you. And we come to you now. And we thank you that you're the God of like mind-blowing power. And the things that you say are like the lower level of what you can do would turn our world upside down. God, turn our world upside down. Raise our faith. And God, I pray for our actions. I pray for this church getting the right things in the right places, build up these foundations, get the right things great so that we can look after ourselves, so we can look after each other, so we can spur each other on, and we can welcome in people. You're going to get to know you. God, do something wonderful in this church as you have been doing across its 7-year history. We look back on Rehope Southside and we declare you're good. You care about this church. And continue to do what you have been doing. Amen.